Bree's deciding to wear, she first doesn't want to wear pants, so can't scroll too low. I don't think you can see in the, stop, get down. I can see. You can see that.
I can't see nothing.
You can see that.
Okay, I can't see, so.
Yes, you can't see.
Shouldn't get my opinion.
But she decided not to wear pants and then to wear my crew neck.
Isn't it so cute? It looks so good on me. And obviously, I've been going hats because my hair is super flat and it's wash day, and I don't have time to do it. So this is what you get.
Well, today's the day we are going to talk about our waiting for marriage. So a lot of you guys know that we waited for marriage for 3 years, 4 years, 4 years. And we're now married for 3. So now we're going to talk about that journey and what it looked like, things that we've learned now being out of it, in of it for so long. So we're excited to have this conversation. You ready, Bre?
We're ready, you go me.
All right. So we are here. We matched the chairs and the couch behind us. But, nonetheless, we're here to talk about waiting for marriage. That was the sound in the background. We're talking about waiting for marriage. As you guys know, if you don't know, Bre and I started, a long time ago with our brand Worth the Wait, which was us waiting to have sex until marriage. For a lot of people who don't know, it was my decision, and I came to Bre with it, and she was like, "Cool."
Put your phone on silent.
Yes, I need to.
He's professional.
Sorry. But like I said, if you guys don't know that it was my decision, and Bre was like, "Cool, I'll do that," because she was kind of on the same journey too. More engagement, not marriage, or waiting to find the person she wanted to be with, really. But it all ended us here to where we waited for marriage for 4 years. And now we want to give an update because we've done videos on waiting for marriage, why we decided to do it right after we got married, how we felt. But now we're 3 years married, going into 2025. So we just want to give an update on like where we are, how we feel about it, our mindset towards it, what we recommend, all those things. So where do you want to start, Bre?
Well,
You want me to start?
No, I want to start.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you have followed our journey, you know that Dre kind of came into the relationship like with a lot of his things figured out, like a good person. He didn't have baggage. Like he was very much like, "Hi, I'm Dre. I'm ready for a relationship." Whereas I was like, "Me? You want to pick me? Like with all these bags? Like where do I begin to unpack and not like scare you away?" And there was a time in our waiting journey over that 3 to 4 years where it was a lot of like Bre having to work on herself to be the person I am now. And so I will say is that the journey of waiting and all of the things that we learned in premarital counseling, all of the tools and the resources that were given to us to be able to deal with things really put us in a different position than I feel like most married couples. Because when we were going into marriage, a lot of people were like, once you get married, things are going to change. Like that relationship that you have, like it's going to change when you get married. And we were kind of nervous, like what is this thing that everyone's talking about that all of a sudden is going to change, like to where our relationship isn't going to be great anymore. And once we got married, it actually only got better. Like we were like, we love it here. Now that doesn't mean that every day is perfect, right? So we definitely have things that we've had to work on. And so I want to share something that recently just happened because I feel like since we've been married, we really haven't had a lot of issues. It's more of like us going through transitions and having to communicate and make sure we're being there for each other and acting as like best friend first. And, through love and obviously like the intimacy and the romance, like all of those things are like perks, but like at the end of the day, the communication is everything. And so yesterday, Dre had a, vulnerable conversation with me where he just told me that lately he's been feeling like I kind of have like forgotten about him, like almost deprioritizing him over my team, my work, and just like my personal life stuff. And I haven't been like the nicest person to be around because like every day I'm grunting and I'm like, oh, and like this is happening, and how am I going to get all this done? There's not enough time in a day. And it's because I'm going through a major transition. And I realized that because of us waiting for marriage, the way that I received what he said and responded, I was like, that couldn't have been me 4 years ago. I'd been like, what do you know, it would have been like taking offense, and it would have been like, but you, and just not being able to like take accountability, see and respond in a mature way. And so after our conversation, I was like, wow, I'm very proud of myself. And I say all this to say that if you are someone who is thinking of waiting for marriage, like, the goal of waiting for marriage shouldn't just be to get you a husband or to get you a wife. It's like you have to have your reasonings. And if it wasn't for him having his reasons and me seeing how that journey of waiting could benefit me and make me a better person, I don't think we would be where we are today. And I don't think that waiting is for everyone. And all of our videos where we talk about waiting, it's not to try to persuade you to wait as well. It's just us sharing our journey. So that's what I will start with. And then I'm going to let you piggyback off of that.
I think you made a good point where people talk about relationships being hard, and I started to realize over time that there are times to where you have like where your relationship is tested or you go through hard times in your relationships, but that doesn't always happen at the beginning. Was what I realized is that some people, like, they feel like the marriage is the high point and then everything kind of goes down from here when you're most excited. And I think that tends to happen sometimes because a lot of people haven't dealt with really hard stuff in their relationship, but the moment that they hit a hard time might be 5 years after marriage or 6 years after marriage, and then that affects their relationship. But I look back at our relationship and I was like, man, we dealt with a lot in the beginning. Like, we were together young, didn't have a lot of money to our names. Like, Bre was transitioning businesses. Within 3 months of being together, we moved in together into 550 square feet. We started a business together full time to where all of our income was in this business with this person that we just really got to know 6 months ago. Like I said, living in 550 square feet, and we also weren't having sex. Like,
and I had a drinking problem, and I had anger issues.
And I had problems expressing. Like, it was just like we had so much that we were dealing with in the beginning. So that's why we say, like, after our marriage has been a lot better, because I think we dealt with the brunt of like hard things in the beginning, to where we had to commit to something and really push through, and there wasn't this distraction of sex to like take away from what the actual issues were. So it's like you have to really be real with yourself and say, like, do I really love this person? Do I want to be with this person? And we had to have those conversations not only with each other but with ourselves. And we came out on the other end of it. So I agree with Bre. Like, for us, I think it's only strengthened our relationship because it's really about the foundation that we built our relationship on. And one of my dreams was falling in love and really choosing to love the person that I wanted to be with without that element. So that it's more the cherry on top versus the foundation of what we have in our relationship. So we know, and it feels great that we can go a year or 2 or 3 without that and still love each other, be there for each other. And the reason that we are with one another is not for that. We want the intimacy, right? The loving, the hugging, the kissing, the laying in the bed, foot on you, leg on you. Like, we want all of those things, but do we actually have to have sex to feel the love from one another? No. And I think that's a great thing. And I started to see, like, a lot of people have an unhealthy relationship with like sex. And you say that in this world and people think you're judging them or anything like that. But really it comes down to the prioritization of sex in your life. And you look at people just in general, how many people put sex at a higher priority than probably what it should be in their life. And that's what I mean by unhealthy relationship with it. Like, you are making life decisions based off of that. Everything that you do is geared off of that. Is that the reason you bought your car as a dude? Is that the reason you buy the shoes that you buy? Is that the reason to attract this person or to attract that person? It's like certain things that you do, you don't even realize because it's like so ingrained in our culture that like we have this unhealthy relationship with it. And you don't really realize it till you kind of take it out of your life for a period. And then I think it kind of resets to the normal feeling of like where it should be in your life versus like what you're told, out in society. So I think that's been a great thing. And now as we transition, now into year 3 of our marriage, I think we have a good balance now. It's still something we're working on because and I realize this is not even something when it comes to waiting for marriage. It's just marriages. As marriage go along, you get busier schedules. Like, you got to make it
get comfortable.
Yeah, you get comfortable. That's not really a waiting for marriage thing. It's just a regular human thing of just like making sure that you keep that top of mind of like, engaging in those activities with one another, and being in a space to where you feel like you want to do it. But I feel like now we have a good balance. Like when we first got married, it was like her wanting more than me, and then it got to a point with me wanting more to her, and then it was like morning, evening. Like we were just trying to figure out like the cadence, how it was going to work, getting the intimacy back, because that was something that we had struggled with, and we're trying to figure out just like
remembering that, oh yeah, we can do that now.
Yeah. Or we've been together so long without it. So it's like truly reintroducing something that wasn't part of our relationship into our relationship. And you would think, Bre always talk about how movies are just so fake, and like how they just like walk in the door and just like slam you against the thing, and it's just like, yeah, toss the clothes, and it's like you finish.
Have sex and then roll over and they just go to sleep.
It's like no mess, nothing.
Where the juices go.
And it's like it's like just the attraction isn't enough. Like you have to, figure out all these different things about one another, because how you operate with like a one night stand or like somebody that you're just having fun with versus, your wife or your husband is different. And the plan is that, over decades, 50, 60 years, that this is going to be your sexual partner for your entire life. So it's like, there's a lot of things that you have to figure out and get comfortable with and understand. And I feel like we're at that point. So I'm thankful that we've, gotten to this point. And just to mention it, just in case nobody ever saw the video, the reason I chose away from marriage were a lot of different reasons. I feel like whenever I did things the way God said to do it, it always worked out for me in my life. I also knew this would be the biggest decision of my life. Not only would this be the mother of my kids, but also the biggest influence in my life. So I wanted to make sure I was entering into that decision-making process with a sober mind and not intoxicated by anything physical. And then when I made that commitment, and I was tested at one point and I passed that test, and then I heard from this woman the next day, and I chose to stay with that commitment because I knew she was my wife early on, and I didn't want to go back on what I told God that I would do, after making this commitment. But one of the things we preach, that Bre had already said, is that God didn't call you to virginity, meaning that like just because you're waiting for marriage does not mean that is the ticket to finding your spouse. Like it's a reason that you do that, but there are other things that you have to do, figure out, and maintain in order to find the person you ultimately want to be with. So it's a lot of stuff to go into it, but I think we're in a really good place and happy with our journey, our decision. We know it's not for everybody. And it was only 4 years because we had to wait because of the pandemic and all of that, and push our wedding back. But I think
I do want to share something about that real quick. So the reason why like Dre will go and say like, oh, 3, and I'm like, no, 4, is because it should have been 3 years of waiting, because when we set the date for our wedding, COVID happened and we had to push it back a year. So it ended up being 4. And at the time that it got pushed back, I had came to him and I was like, look, God loves us and he knows we are committed. We've gone 3 years. And I'm like, can we just have sex already? Because I just think like, why wait? Like we could just like have sex now because we've done all the things. And I actually struggled with it for like a day. It was like a day where I was really like, are you really? No, it wasn't a week. It was a day. Because I had a moment and I made a post about it. And you were like, why would you share that? It makes it seem like we weren't on the same page. And I was like, because it's the real. We're not on the same page right now. I don't want to keep waiting. And after we talked, and he was like, why would we do this, make this commitment, and then just because we're good and we got what we wanted, we're going to go back on our word to God? Like, we didn't say that we were going to just go to the courthouse and sign a piece of paper. We said we were going to celebrate our journey of waiting with our loved ones, and that's what we're going to do. And that extra year, when I look back at it now, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful for that year, because that was the year that I made probably the biggest strides and changes as an individual that I think made me equipped to be a really good wife when that time came. And then the other thing that I want to share, because Dre mentioned that he was waiting for marriage for, for godly reasons. And I just want to share for those of you who maybe like don't have strong relationships with God, or maybe you believe in a certain religion, or maybe you don't believe at all. I don't know what your situation is, but I want to share as someone who is not a believer at first, and didn't really have a relationship with God, that I was choosing to take sex off of the table because I knew what it was doing in my life. It was making me be with men who I shouldn't have been with, that weren't treating me the right way, that were prioritizing the wrong things, and that were validating my worth based off of what I could give them physically. And I was like, that doesn't feel good. And I want to be with someone who wants to be with me because of who I am. And at the time, this is before I knew Dre was waiting for marriage, and really before we reconnected, I was like, if I look in the mirror and ask myself if the person I am right now would attract the type of man I want, the answer is no. Like, the guy that I want isn't going to look at me and be like, yeah, you're my wife. And it took me saying, I'm going to take this thing off the table. I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to work on healing my heart and getting to a place where I can better myself and be the other half of someone else. And when I met Dre and he ended up telling me that he was waiting, I was like, see, this is why I made that decision. And it was through him that I built my relationship through God. And that was the thing that really started like the spiritual journey for me, where I didn't necessarily focus on religion, but I focused on relationship. And now I feel like I'm in a really great place with God. And I'm excited for like our kids to see the relationship that we have and how we prioritize and put God at the center. And it really, like, that's the leading thing in everything, every decision that we make. And it's just such a beautiful thing. Like I said, I was not the church girl. So it's like, I share that to let you know that like all of you, all of us are worthy of love. But at the end of the day, if you aren't attracting the type of person you want, you have to start with yourself first. And the only reason why Dre looked at me with all my baggage and all my issues and was like, I see this person's heart and I see where they're going and I see who they are in their entirety. If I remove all of these other worldly things, like, I was a really good person. I just was dealing with a lot and trying to, get through a lot, and that shined through. And I think that that's super important to note, that like we are who we are today because of taking that journey together.
For sure. Very well put.
Thanks.
So yeah, the 3-year report is that we're happy. Things are great. We feel very happy about the foundation that we built with the decision that we made. I always encourage people to wait. Like, I don't know how long that might be for you, but just take some time. Like, that will always be there. That's something that we learned in that process. That will always be there for you to have that. But if it's so important that you feel like that has to be, a huge part of your relationship, then you're staking a lot on something that could easily change, in the future if you go down the road with somebody. So I would just stop and think, like, do I want this to be a major part of my relationship or part of the foundation of my relationship? And that's why I always encourage people just to wait. Like, it might be 3 months for you, it might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might be till engagement, it might be until marriage, but just take some time to learn the person that you're with. Try to see them from sober eyes and a sober mind, and then all that other stuff can come.
And all of the waiting and the beautiful marriage led to now us bringing baby on board. So we're
trying.
Yeah,
because Bre says stuff.
Bringing baby on board.
I know people might think the baby on board already. I'm just clearing it up for people.
The baby is not on board.
So it's here in me. I just gotta put the baby in her.
No, it's here in me.
I had the seeds. They're not planted yet, but we are opening up the soil for.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
Sexy.
We tried something. I don't know if that worked, but yes, make sure you go to Relationship Restorative. Please join our community. It's joining people like us who care about relationships, want happy, healthy relationships. Make sure you join, sign up. We do a lot of things, different events. We have community engagement. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you have anything that you want us to talk about or give advice on or give any insight on, please let us know on the site as well. And make sure to follow Bre's YouTube page too, her separate one that's talking about a lot of different things. Our stuff will be on there, but also things dealing with business, entrepreneurship, growing your brand, all the amazing things that she has a lot of knowledge about and has done, not only for herself, for me, and a lot of different clients. So make sure you go check those things out too.
Peace.
Peace.